And hello, everyone, and welcome to the first Halloween special of the Evil Shemps. Yes, that's right. It's officially October, and my friend Spaz,
Yay!
get excited. And my friend Spaz and I couldn't be more excited for it because, woo, this is our favorite month. We've been waiting for this, and yeah, tonight the whole month we got some stuff planned. We got some fun stuff planned, but yeah, tonight's topic is gonna be about slasher movies. But first, I actually saw a new horror movie on Tuesday. Um, I saw the Substance with Demi Moore, the new body horror movie. It was really good. I really dug it. It was it was very. I'm just gonna give a quick brief. I'm just gonna briefly sum up my thoughts on it. Um, it felt like there were elements of Cronenberg, a bit of Kubrick, but by the time the movie gets to the end, it just kind of turns into like a full on trauma movie, which was pretty funny. Um, so no, I mean that in a
Then
good
I
way.
definitely have to watch it.
I mean that in a good way. So no, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I recommend it. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. But today today marks 1 week until I see my most anticipated movie of the year, Terrifier 3. And I could not be more excited. I am bursting right now. I can't wait. Yeah. So, with that being said, I thought it'd be appropriate for tonight's topic to be slasher movies. Um and I would say that slasher movies are one of my favorite subgenres of horror. Um but I guess you know what? I completely forgot to introduce ourselves, so all the newcomers. I am one of your co-hosts, Pete the Pope, and with me as always is my friend Dominic Pouchet, or as I like to call him, Spaz. And all right, so now we got that out of the way. I feel like slasher movies have always been one of my favorite subgenres of horror. They're the ones I probably grew up watching the most, especially on TV and stuff back in the day. I remember them always having like around, especially around this time of year, having like Friday the 13th marathons or Nightmare on Elm Street marathons on TV all the time. So, yeah. And Spaz, you grew up in the 80s when all these movies were coming
Yep.
out. So what was that
Yeah,
like?
way back when the dinosaurs
Yeah,
roamed the earth,
yeah. So
I
what?
took my Tyrannosaurus Rex to see Friday the 13th Part 8. Yeah, um,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
yeah, they
so
were.
like, but yeah, so
Yeah.
like, what was that like growing up with all those movies coming
Oh,
out at that
man.
time?
Oh, for a horror fan, I didn't get censored like most kids did. I remember watching The Howling with my father. I remember watching Nightmare on Elm Street with Dad. Yeah, I yeah, there was no real horror censorship. Uh, I just I remember being really psyched when I got my first Fangoria magazine at like 10 or 11 and got
Oh
to
yeah.
watch all the up and coming new horror movies and uh just it kept you. It's not like it is today where you kind of get I don't know what is it previews of what's coming in at the theaters and whatnot, and maybe get some stuff
Well,
off the internet.
well, yeah. Now you
It
could
was
just
just this.
yeah, because
Yeah.
now you could just pull
Mhm.
up a movie trailer on your phone. It's like
Right, right. But when you would like wait for the day that
yeah,
the magazine would come, and then you could see all the new horror movies that were coming out. And Fangoria focused a lot on slasher, sometimes on the monster movies, but on slashers too. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, you got everything from Jason to Hellraiser to Chainsaw. I remember when Texas Chainsaw 2 first came out, and that was a huge thing because it was a comedy, and then everybody was losing their minds because
Right,
they didn't
right.
know what to do about a slasher comedy. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I could imagine. Um Now it's been a contention amongst many horror fans of what could be considered the first slasher movie. Um, and some
Yeah.
people say it's Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. You could even argue, like you said before. I guess you could even make an argument that Dial M for Murder could be considered one
Yep.
of the first early slasher movies. But um,
Yeah.
but the genre didn't really start coming into fruition until like the late 70s and early 80s. That was really when slasher
Yeah.
films became a big boom. And I guess an argument can also be made that like the earlier like Italian giallo horror movies could be considered like the like earlier slasher movies, but really it was I think it was well, I mean, because I was gonna say Halloween, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out before Halloween, so could you say? I guess we have to consider Texas Chainsaw Massacre as like almost like the catalyst because it came out in the what was it 74,
hmm
I believe.
I'm not sure. I think it was a year before I was born, so it was probably 75 when Halloween came out. I'm not 100% sure. I know Texas
1974.
Chainsaw is way
1974.
older than I am. Mhm.
1974. I was right. I was right. Yeah, so yeah, original Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in 1984, and then Halloween came out in 78, or was it 79?
Mhm.
Shit, hold on. I always get it. Oh no, I was right. 78. Man, I am on it tonight. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, and the original Halloween came out in 1978. So I mean, I guess, but also even before that, even before the original Halloween, Black Christmas came out in
Yep.
like also came out in 1974, same year as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's Silent Night was actually one of the movies that inspired John Carpenter to make Halloween. He was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
a holiday slasher movie or a holiday horror movie, and what better holiday to set a horror movie on than Halloween?" You know, um,
Mhm.
so like, yeah, I get you can certainly make that the argument that that's also part of like the some of the earlier horror slasher films, but
Right.
I think the real kickoff for the slasher movie craze was the original Friday the 13th. Because
Yeah.
yeah, because when the original Friday the 13th came out, movie studios saw that they could turn a profit by funding these relatively low budget horror movies, slasher movies. Why can't I talk tonight? They just had to put a bunch of tits and gore and violence in it, and
Mhm.
teenagers would go and and fucking buy the tickets and go see it, and and the studios would make their more than their budget back on it. So
Yeah, the slasher as we know it today is probably started by Friday the 13th.
right,
The
yeah,
the you can argue all
yes,
day about which one came first with the knife wielding or an axe wielding or whatever
right,
wielding maniac. But yeah, as far as we know, teenagers getting massacred, I think that was probably started
with the original Friday
with
the
Friday the
13th.
13th. That
Yeah,
that kind of formula,
right.
you know, where
And
you had a
that's
lot of breasts, lots of violence.
right, exactly. You know, nudity and violence. That'll get them in. That'll get the kids
Mhm.
in there. Yeah, and then
Yep.
and yeah, it was a winning formula because they made a lot of them after that. You had a ton of them. Like well, I mean, the list goes on and on. You know, April
Mhm.
Fool's Day, Happy Birthday to Me,
Mhm.
fucking Um, Sleepaway Camp,
Time.
Sleepaway Camp, The Burning, The Prowler. You know, a bunch of them, a ton. I know I'm missing a few here. Prom Night. There's no Prom Night. This is be considered a slasher movie.
Maniac.
Maniac. Sure, yeah, Maniac. Yeah. I know I'm missing a bunch. There's a ton of them. People, you know,
Alone probably has 10.
huh?
You know, I said Trauma alone probably has 10.
Yeah, so,
You know,
probably.
Mother's Day and
Oh yeah,
just
Mother's Day.
everything.
Sure, yeah, Mother's Day.
Mhm.
Yeah. We try to not. I try to forget about that movie, but yeah.
Fuck with that.
Yeah, right. But yeah. So, anything you want to add, Spaz?
Let's see. What was another big one that came out that was? Hmm. We didn't mention Freddy. Freddy is Nightmare on Elm Street is definitely
I was getting to
tier.
that. Well, hang
Mhm.
on, hang on. I was building up to that, Spaz. Jeez, wait to just way to just crescendo the
okay,
whole fucking
fine.
thing before I even get to it. God damn it, Spaz.
Oh,
Well,
you want to stick with 70s?
It's called build up, Spaz. it's called showmanship, Spaz.
Yeah, there was Silent Night, Deadly Night. There was anything named after a holiday.
Right.
So yeah,
But
and I'm surprised they never took Thanksgiving. You know, until recently.
Right.
That like baffled me. I didn't realize that Thanksgiving hadn't used.
Yeah, but as I was going to say before, fucking Spaz had to spoil it.
Mhm.
Fucking Jesus fucking Christ. All right. No. But as we all know, the two biggest heavy hitters. Why can't I fucking talk tonight? It's all your fault, Spaz. I'm blaming you. The two biggest heavy hitter slasher icons to come out of the 80s were, of course, Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger. Now, of course, Jason Voorhees came from Friday the 13th. He was not the killer in the original. Spoilers if you haven't seen a 40-year-old movie now. I don't even like sorry, not sorry. But he is not the killer in the original Friday the 13th, and but he does come back as the killer in Friday the 13th Part 2, and then he's the killer from that movie up until Part 4. Then he dies at the end of Part 4, and then it's someone else in Part 5, but then he gets brought back to life in Part 6 and comes back.
Yeah, because Tommy Jarvis just couldn't leave it alone.
Because Tommy fucking Jarvis just couldn't leave that shit alone. Stupid bastard. He brought Jason back. You know, and then yeah, he went on for Friday the 13th Part 7, 8, three more of his own films. Well, technically 4, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But for as far as like the main line Friday the 13th Jason Voorhees, franchise goes, he went after Part 6. He went on for 4 more movies. 2 of which are often argued as being the worst of the franchise, even though I think one of them is probably the most fun in the franchise.
Yeah.
That being Jason X. But Jason Goes to Hell, I can understand why people don't like that. I am not too big on Jason Goes to Hell either. It's
because it's not really Jason. Yeah. It's all the other people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I really do love the Friday the 13th franchise as a whole. It's one of my favorite slasher movie franchises. But one other as we said before, one other slasher icon emerged from the 80s, and that was, of course, Now I know a lot of you are saying, "Well, aren't you mentioning Leatherface or Michael Myers?" Again, they came out and they were from the 70s. Fine, we're talking about 80s slasher icons right now, even though you can argue they carried over into the 80s. But right now we're just focusing on the two big 80s guys, which are, of course, Jason and, as I'm about to get into it, Freddy. Spaz, why don't you talk a bit about Freddy?
Okay, so Freddy was a new kind of killer. Definitely hadn't seen someone who was a young child murderer, because Jason was the one that always kind of just killed teenagers or young adults that could have possibly killed his mother. And then we have all these, have Freddy who gets burned to death by the parents of heartbroken children. I mean, sorry, parents who had lost their children and been heartbroken.
Mm-hmm.
Burned him alive, and he came back as a dream demon, which probably is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
and the uniqueness of the color scheme that was designed to
Oh
be
yeah.
unnerving. The sweater is, according to the human eye tests and everything, the color pattern is supposed to be the most unnerving to all
Yeah.
people who look at it.
And how Robert Englund incorporated a issue he had with the wardrobe into the iconic
Mhm,
pose of Freddy Krueger, because when he originally
mhm,
wore the glove, it was really heavy, so it weighed him down a
mhm,
bit on his
mhm,
right side. So that's how he came up with the iconic Freddy pose, which was like kind of a mix of him doing his own thing and Clint Eastwood from
mhm,
like The Man with No Name. That was also an inspiration, and that was a part of the inspiration of how he did the iconic Freddy pose.
mhm.
Um, and yeah, so I mean, yeah, that's just great stuff. I would say see it's I often ponder like which slasher franchise do I overall enjoy more, Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. Now,
Mhm.
it's hard for me to decide, because with Nightmare on Elm Street, I feel like each movie kind of has its own vibe to it, which I like, a lot. Um, though admittedly, the last couple of entries just became kind of goofy, almost venturing off into parody. But I even like those movies to an extent. I don't hate any of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I really enjoy all of them to a certain degree. Obviously, some more than others, but I don't have any, like, it's not like I hate Dream Child or the Dream Masters or Dream Child or Freddy's Dead. Like I actually really like Freddy's Dead. I like how fucking stupid and goofy it is. I like that.
Mhm.
It's
Power grab.
yeah, don't forget the power glove. Yeah, like
Mhm,
I don't know. I kind of I like when Freddy got a little goofy, or even when he got a little too goofy. You know, sure, it didn't always work, but I still love seeing Robert Englund, play around with the character. It was interesting to see him go from like Freddy being very dark and very dark and scary, and then just kind of becoming like kind of goofy, almost like a comic book villain, you know. Um, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't really have too many bad things to say about the franchise as a whole. Um, what about you, Spaz?
no, I think that all of the Nightmare on Elm Streets are watchable. Like, I don't think there. If you turned one on, I would just not like walk out of the room, or be like, "Oh, this is dumb. I can't watch this." I'd probably sit down and laugh with you, or
Right.
whatever, point out how goofy they were. But no, I don't think there's any that I'm just like, "Oh God." Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing that'll like turn
Mhm,
you off. It's just like, yeah, you're down for the ride no matter
mhm,
which one it is. But how do you feel about New Nightmare?
Oh man, when it came out, I loved the flipping everything on its head. I loved Wes Craven just saying, you know what? Let's try something different. Let's make a completely different story. This is Freddy Gump coming into the real world, it
Right.
being scarier than Robert Englund, and yeah, I like the, I don't know, thinking outside of the box because what more can you do when you reach certain sequel? It's like, okay, we're going to repeat ourselves no matter what we do here.
Right.
What can we do that's different without pissing off the fans completely? You know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Mhm.
Um. No. Yeah. I agree with that overall statement. I really enjoyed New Nightmare. I also thought that was a really solid sequel, and how he reinvented the Freddy mythos and everything a bit. Yeah. No. I really enjoyed that. Yeah. So eventually, well, after Friday 13th part, we're gonna backtrack just a tiny bit, just to say at the end, after Friday the 13th part 8, New Line had acquired the movie rights for Jason, and that's
Mhm.
why the Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X aren't called Friday 13th; they're called Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X. So, but the reason why they did that was because they really wanted to make Freddy versus Jason. They even hint at it at the end of Jason Goes to Hell when Freddy's hand pops out of the dirt and grabs Jason's masks and pulls it down at the end. Um,
Mhm.
so it was something they've been cooking up for a while, and not even just Freddy, but there was even a setup for Ash from Evil Dead to come into it in Jason Goes to Hell, because in the Voorhees house you see the Evil Dead 2 Necronomicon. Uh, yeah,
Yep.
and you find out that that's what his mom used to bring Jason back to life. So technically, Jason is a deadite. um. So yeah. So anyway, yeah, it was kind of cool how they incorporated that lore into it. Um. But anyway, so they wanted to make Freddy versus Jason, but for some reason they just couldn't get it off the ground. It stayed in production hell for like over a decade.
At least.
Yeah, something like that. And they couldn't agree on a script. They couldn't agree on, I guess they couldn't get a director, or I don't know. I don't know what all the issues were exactly. But yeah, for some reason it just stayed in production hell. Well, I know part of the reason was they kept developing different scripts. Like I know there was multiple scripts written for it. Uh until they finally decided on the one that they ended up actually producing and making it. And because eventually, yes, they did make Freddy versus Jason in
Mhm.
2003 is when it was
Yep.
released. And yeah, I remember when it came out, it was a big deal. Like everyone was talking
Oh
about
yeah.
it. All the kids in my school were talking about it. I was getting excited for it. It was a big deal for that time, because you had these two big slasher icons. Because people, because kids these days, they forget. When growing up, we didn't have like all these comic book movies we have now. We had a few, but they weren't like, they weren't as they didn't come out as often as they do now, to the point now where I'm kind of just sick of them. But yeah, we
Hmm.
didn't have that overabundance of comic book movies growing up. We had we had comic books. We didn't have comic book movies. Yeah, but we had horror movies, and we had the characters in those movies as kind of like larger than life characters. And Freddy and Jason were two of those archetypes of characters. Yeah, they were these larger than life movie villains that have at that point have gone on for like almost 2 decades. You know, and it was a big buildup for Freddy versus Jason. Now, whether or not the movie delivered on all of that hype, you know,
How
that
could it? How could it with a decade worth of
yeah,
teasing? I mean,
yeah,
yeah. Even if they made a perfect film, they'd probably people be mad because it took so long to come out.
right. Well, how when you so I'm sure you were all like I'm sure you were
Oh
shitting
yeah.
in your pants to see it when it was coming
Hmm.
out. So what
Oh
was that
yeah.
like for you, Spaz? What was that experience like for you back then?
Well, you just every little thing out of media that I could pick up on it. I got all excited when the lead character from Ginger Snaps was announced that she was going to be in it. I thought she was going to be the main heroine in the movie, but she ends up getting killed like relatively early. um, and I just yeah, and it was like everybody was saying, "Oh, this has got to win," and I kept telling everybody it's probably going to end in a tie. That would be the best way for them to do that because you're gonna piss off some fan base that are like, "Oh, my invincible monster can't die."
Right, right,
And I guess what they did was okay because Freddy, you can decapitate him and they ain't gonna do anything. It's like whatever.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, you
exactly.
postponed him for now. Okay.
Right. I remember when I saw it in the theater. I was 15 at the time it came out, so like I kept asking my mom to and my dad to buy me a ticket to go see it. Now, it was funny. I don't know. Back then my dad would buy me tickets to go see R-rated movies all the time. He didn't really give a
Mhm.
shit. But for some reason or whatever, like my mom made it very pushed it really hard on I guess both him and me where like no you can't see this movie. I'm gonna buy you a ticket to see this movie, and I'm not gonna let you see Freddy vs. Jason. Like, god damn it, mom. Like I watch these movies at home all the time. Like, why do you care so much, like about this? I just, no. Come on, I don't need you seeing that in the theater. I don't know what the hell her problem was back then,
Dude,
but
part score was probably worse to watch than
yeah,
than
I don't know what the
Freddy
fuck her
versus
fucking problem
Jason.
was with me going to see Freddy versus Jason. At that point,
Yeah, yeah.
I had already been watching horror movies like for a long time. At that point in my life, I was already a big horror nerd at that point in my life. So I don't know like what her issue was, but for whatever reason, whatever it was, she didn't want me to see it. So one day I made plans to meet up with my friend. I told my mom, "Oh, I'm just gonna hang out with my friend," and we went. And the plan was I was gonna go see him, and his dad was gonna take us to go see Freddy versus Jason. And I was like, and so like I got there, and the dad was like, "So your parents says, okay, you see this movie?" I'm like, yeah, they don't care. All right, fine. You know? So he took me and my friend to go see. That's how I saw it in the theater, and I was like, yeah, that was awesome. And then when I came home later that day, I was like, "Hey, mom, guess what? I saw Freddy versus Jason. Ah, you can't stop me." So he's all fine, all right, fine, whatever. She acquiesced and she was just like, all right, fine, whatever. He saw it. Like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it when I first saw it. I mean, obviously I was 15, so like I was just excited to see, Freddy and Jason together on the big screen. I don't, really know how much I was like considering the actual plot and everything of the movie. But
Plot.
yeah, exactly. The plot. Yeah, exactly. But not even like looking back on it now, I would say I still like it. It's not terrible.
Mhm.
There's still things in the movie I like. There's still jokes in it I think are funny. Um, there's still some. I think there's still some cool moments with both Freddy and Jason in the movie. Um, overall, is it a masterpiece? Fuck no. But I still like it. I still, like fuck no, I still like it. I still
Will I
like it.
turn it off if someone's playing it? Oh hell no! I'll sit
No,
down and
no,
watch it with you.
yeah, exactly. But I still like it. I still dig it. Um, yeah, and but that came out in the early 2000s. We're gonna back it up a little bit one more time because we got to talk about, in my opinion, well, we'll briefly touch on this because I know you're probably going to agree with me, Spaz, that
Hmm.
after the 80s, we probably got the worst period of slasher movies in the 90s. Um, with stuff like, well, I guess it really all started with the first Scream movie. I don't know. How do you feel about Scream, Spaz? How do you feel about
I
the
think the
original
first
Scream?
one was interesting, and after that, I couldn't watch them. I just couldn't get into them. I liked the first one because it was different, and I said Wes Craven has a way of taking something and making it interesting. But
Sure.
after that, it was just like yeah, you've done it. You've already made the thing that makes it different. Now it's going to be a nuisance. And
Right.
I didn't like the idea, because it's like, why would there be so many copycat killers? I don't.
Yeah, it just
That's
gets kind of stupid at a certain point. It's just like yeah, like why
Jason
are
had one copycat,
yeah,
and they didn't push it after that.
yeah,
And I was like, okay, I can deal with once, but other
yeah.
than that,
They're like, fuck it, we'll just make him a zombie now. Fuck it, where? Yeah, like,
Mhm.
fine. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was
Mhm.
never big on Scream. Like, I guess I liked the first one, but like, I never really
It
cared
had all
about.
kinds of great actors, and it was just good.
Sure,
You
sure.
know,
Yeah. Yeah, I like the first one. Fine. But yeah, like you said, after that, I couldn't give a fuck less
I
about the
tuned out.
sequels. About the sequels.
I,
Yeah.
yeah, I tuned out completely. I didn't even care. I was like, and Kevin Smith was in one of them, and I didn't even watch that one. And I was like, I was surprised I didn't
Oh,
watch that
yeah,
one.
Scream 3, where him and Jason Mewes cameo as Jay and Silent Bob. Yeah. It's
I
just
didn't even watch that one, and
it's
I'm a
not.
huge Kevin Smith fan.
They're
So
barely in it. It's like it's just a quick like 2-minute cameo. Not even. They're barely in it. You didn't miss anything. Yeah, like,
okay, well now
it's like a less than 2-minute cameo. Yeah, probably not even that. But yeah, no, I'm not really too big on the Scream franchise. But unfortunately, the first Scream spawned a bunch of other shittier fucking 90s slasher movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer and
hmm
Urban Legend. Although Urban Legend did have Robert Englund in it, I'll give it that. But still,
the first one was okay.
yeah,
The first one was okay. After that, I was just like, no, no more. I'm done.
yeah, um, yeah. And then they made the I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. That was fucking
Mhm.
stupid. I didn't bother watching any of those really. I think I watched I saw parts of I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I just thought it was stupid. And
I watched
yeah,
I watched the first one, and after that, I was just like, okay. So that's what that's about.
yeah. I'm not a fan. Like, um, and after that, for a while, slashers kind of dried up for a bit. Up until the early 2000s, where aside from Freddy vs. Jason, we were getting these reboots of older slasher movies. There was the prom PG-13 Prom Night remake. you know,
Yeah.
we got we got that early 2000s Black Christmas remake, which made it more of like a grindhouse slasher movie, which I actually
Hmm.
kind of like. Honestly, I kind of like the remake of Black Christmas, the one from the early
Hmm.
2000s. It's not great or
Me
anything,
too.
but I don't hate it. I think
I
it's
like the skin
watchable.
cookies. I have to
Yeah,
admit it.
yeah, the skin
I like the
cookies were
skin
a fun
cookies.
scene. Yeah, it's a watchable horror movie. It's a watchable
Hmm.
slasher movie for sure. I like it. Um, yeah, and then you got stuff like you got the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake that came out at that time, and then Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, which was like the prequel
Hmm.
kind of whatever to the remake. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, and you were getting there was what else was there? Help me out here, Spaz. What else was there back then that was coming out like remakes?
Uh, a lot of Sauls. A lot of Sauls were coming out in the early
Oh,
2000s.
oh, and we
But,
got that we got a shitty
hmm.
remake for both Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street back then.
Hmm.
I saw both of them in the theater, and I wish I didn't. It's like, uh, um,
Yeah.
you
What
know,
else was there? In the early 2000s for slasher
well,
movies.
well, there was a
Mm,
lot of remakes and shit, but
yeah, a lot of remakes.
there was one original slasher horror film that came out during that time. And it was a big deal in the horror community. When it first came out, that was Hatchet.
Hmm.
First Hatchet movie, written and directed by Adam Green. And when it first came out and I saw it, I loved it at the time.
Hmm.
Uh, but as time has gone on, I've looked back on it less favorably. What are your thoughts, Spaz, on it?
I think that they had a star-studded cast and they didn't make use of it at all. Like they had Tony Todd, they had just a killer cast, and you see Tony Todd in the very beginning, and that's it. It's like
Right.
make use of your stars.
Sure.
I I don't know. That annoyed the crap out of me because I was all excited to see Tony Todd, and he's like, "Oh, here I am. Now I'm gone. You won't see me for the rest of the movie."
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, yeah, and as much as I love Kane Hodder, it's like I don't know.
He just
Yeah,
not. He was
it
just he was just playing a Jason ripoff. That's really what it was, honestly.
mhm,
I mean, that's really what
yeah,
Victor Crowley was. He was a proto Jason.
mhm,
And I don't. I like them. I still like the Hatchet movies, but looking back on them, like I said, I want something a bit more from my slasher icon. I feel like a lot of like people who want to become like genre filmmakers, horror filmmakers, they feel like they can just make some Jason ripoff slasher movie and
mhm.
make it, and it's like, no, like we've seen that already. You got to bring something a bit more to the table. You got to,
Right. And if you're gonna rip it off, you're
yeah,
gonna have to do what Friday the 13th did for Halloween. They're like, okay, so we're gonna make it different. We have a male killer, we're gonna make it a female killer,
sure,
and and do stuff like that. You can't make a carbon copy of it and expect it to do well, or just change the setting. Like it's like that's what it felt like. It felt like a Jason in the swamp.
right.
I don't know.
No, I agree. No, go please. I agree. That's really what
Yeah,
it
I
felt.
mean, now don't get me wrong, that the gore was good. I have no complaints about the special effects,
Sure,
no
yeah,
complaints about the camera work at
mm-hmm,
all. I loved every shot of the movie,
right,
but you had stars that you just overlooked, and it kicked itself in the balls there. It's like, okay, so you have this great cast, and you're gonna focus on the worst actors and the worst characters. It's like I don't know.
yeah,
And
exactly.
took a very long time for the killer to show up. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
people who
There's
are
like a
in
big build up.
slashers need a short
Yep.
attention span. They need at least to see a kill in the first 5 or 6 minutes. You need at least to
Well,
see someone
they
die.
you see him kill some people in the opening scene of the movie. You see him kill some people for sure. Um, but no, but I agree with what you're saying overall. I do. I don't think Adam Green brought enough new stuff to the table with Victor Crowley. I think he was trying too hard to make it reminiscent of Friday the 13th, and there wasn't yeah, there just wasn't enough there for me to like look back on it and be like, yeah, these are slasher movies I love. These are so good. I mean, but it was the context of the time it came out, because at the time it came out, it was a big deal because this was like the first original horror movie we had gotten for a long time at that point, you know? And so it was a big deal, and I did love it for what it was at the time. But yeah, I don't know, because now we get to you know, the early mid 2010s,
Mhm.
and a new slasher icon emerges. Um, you know, and the one that goes by Art the Clown. Yeah, and
Oh,
I will make the
dear to the
argument,
heart.
huh?
Said dear to the heart. Yes.
Yep. And I will make the argument that Art the Clown is probably the best slasher icon to emerge since the 80s. You know,
I don't disagree with that. No,
you know,
pretty good. Yeah.
you know, I I will die on that fucking hill. I will say, cuz he brings the silent stalkerish like nature of like Jason and Michael Myers, while still having the dark charm of like Freddy Krueger. That mischievous, type of character that you hate to love. And
Mhm.
David Howard Thornton, his performance is right up there with like Robert Englund and Kane
Yep.
Hodder, in my opinion, as far as being. Now I know other actors have played Jason Voorhees, but many people say that Kane Hodder was probably the most iconic because he brought more of a personality to Jason in the films that he played him.
Mhm.
So I do think that he's probably the most notable of all the actors to have played Jason, Kane Hodder. So I put him up there with like next to Robert Englund, and like I said, and now David Howard Thornton.
Mhm.
Now I'll admit, when I first saw the original Terrifier, I was not too big on it. I liked Art the Clown. I liked the character. I thought it was a good showcase for him, but that was about it. So I was just like, okay, it's just another low budget slasher movie with one decent kill in it, and that's about it.
Okay.
That was all my overall thoughts on the first Terrifier movie when I first saw it. So when Terrifier 2 came out, I wasn't like too big on seeing it right away. I was just kind of like, you know. But one of my friends was actually one of the producers on it, and and a lot of people, and it was getting a lot of good reviews from a lot of horror fans and a lot of like YouTube horror like movie reviewers on YouTube that I watch and stuff are all giving it a lot of praise, and they were saying like, this movie is way better than the first one, this, that, and the other thing. And so I was just like, and then I saw that it was supposed to be, when Terrifier 2 first came out, it was only supposed to be playing for I think it was originally only supposed to be playing for two nights. It was it was supposed to be a very limited release in theaters. But it did so well and people demanded it so much that they kept it in theaters, at least over here by me, for over a month, like 6 weeks. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna go see it. I want to hit up my slasher movie buddy. We're gonna go see it.
Mhm.
See, he had actually already seen it before me, and I asked him, in your opinion, you think Terrifier 2 is better than the first one? He goes, oh yeah, it's a lot better. I'm like, all right, cool. And we went to go see it, and I fucking loved it. I adored it. It was everything I wanted in a slasher horror film. It was a perfect horror movie in my opinion. I wanted more of Art. Damien Leone, he really took a lot of the criticisms that he got from the first movie and really went to work on making a really great script. And yeah, it's just like I love that he gave Art the Clown like a new like a new enemy to go against with Sienna, as like the, who's, I guess, supposed to be like some type of angelic warrior or something to defeat the ultimate evil, which is Art the Clown. I'm assuming that's where I don't know. We're we're gonna find out more in the third movie, but I don't know. I love the supernatural element that Damien Leone added and made more prevalent in the second movie. It was just the kills are great. David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown again is amazing. He is so funny. I just, every time he's on screen, I got a big smile on my face because I just love watching him do what he does. I love a physical comedic performance, and he gives one that I've wanted for a long time. And yeah, I can't praise it enough. I can't praise Terrifier 2 enough. Spaz, talk about Terrifier 2. Come on.
Okay.
Well,
for me, just having something new, something that pulls from the greats and mimics but doesn't steal. It's not a blatant steal. You got a lot of the elements from Freddy Krueger, got a lot of the elements from Jason, and even from you wanted to say the silent stalker, you could
Michael Myers.
Say even elements from Michael Myers. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. I like, and for me, the thing that's kind of neat is the slapstick, and and it's not overdone. It's like the perfect amount. Mm-hmm. It's in the appropriate setting. It's the parts with the sunglasses and the toys and the candy and. Yeah, and in the new trailer, I can't wait to see what's in the Christmas present.
Yeah, yep.
That was the first thing I thought. I'm like, oh, okay, what's in the Christmas present? Right. Yeah, is it going to be some Nightmare Before Christmas thing, or is it going to be weapons? Is it going to be? I have no idea. It's going to be a body.
Yep.
Or is it going to be like something you don't expect, like a little card that says "I'm coming to see you soon" or something? I have no idea.
I can't wait to see, though. I can't wait to,
Yeah. Yeah, and I like the idea of having a female antagonist that's likable, and it reminds me a little bit of Sigourney Weaver. She's tough, but she's not fearless. There's nothing worse than a hero that doesn't have any fear, because fear kind of makes you realistic, in my opinion. If you fear something, then people kind of buy into the monster scary. If the hero doesn't find the monster scary at all and just is like, I don't know, was it the evil, not Evil Dead, but the Resident Evil hero?
Okay.
Why would anybody be afraid of the monsters when she's not? It's like. Yeah, I mean, they're fun to watch and stuff, but they're more action because you're not having your main characters fear the enemy.
Right.
Right. But that's kind of why I like the second Terrifier. I haven't seen the other ones yet, and I'm kind of waiting on that one. I think I'll see them all in one sitting when the third one comes out, and I'll probably sit down and watch All Hallows Eve, and then watch the first Terrifier, Terrifier 2, and Terrifier 3.
I mean, unless you really want to, but you don't really need to get.
Just if you sit down and want to see it
for the sake of completion. Sure, yeah. Like, yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, but I don't know. I feel like Terrifier 2 completely blows the first one out of the water, but after watching the second, watching and falling in love with the second one, I went back and have rewatched the original, and I do have more of an appreciation for it now. Because I can see what Damien Leone wanted to do, but didn't have the budget for, so he did what he could.
Right.
And I get that, and I respect that. So yeah, I mean, and just seeing what he was able to do in Terrifier 2, because he finally had a decent budget. And And now and now even more so with Terrifier 3, he's got an even bigger budget than both of the first two movies combined. So I can only imagine the chaos that he's going to, put forth in the third one. I can't wait. I am so excited for this movie, for Terrifier 3. Yeah. Yeah, this franchise has finally given something I've wanted for a long time, and that was a new slasher icon that I can, hate to love, that I can fall in love with. It's like finally,
Yep.
someone new and fresh who takes from the old, but still is his own thing.
Right. He's very mime-like, and that's another thing that
Yep.
takes talent. You can't. How do you?
That physical.
Not
type
even
of,
Jason mimes.
Yeah.
Not even Jason mimes things. He's just this. And same thing with Michael Myers. They don't mime anything.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
imagine
that's
seeing-
kind of a different take.
Imagine seeing Jason doing like mime shit, like
Yeah.
with the hockey mask on.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I love it. I love it so much. And
The smile does it for me, though. The big smile.
the big toothy
Yes.
smile. That
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, no, I love it. I love it too. It's so good. Yeah, and I would say that that's probably the best. I would say that's the best current slasher franchise right now. Not that there's too many other ones going on at the moment. They've been trying to get. I know they've been trying to get that Crystal Lake series off the ground for a little while now, but I haven't really heard anything else about it. I haven't really heard too much about it lately. I don't know what's going on with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as
I couldn't tell you.
yeah, and as far as Nightmare on Elm Street goes, I mean, who knows? Who knows if we'll ever get another one of those either?
No, I don't know. And yeah, I think they've done. If there's never another Nightmare on Elm Street, they've done a great job. I think that series will go down in history as one of the greats of all time.
Sure.
They don't have anything to worry about. They're not going to be forgotten. They're.
Yeah, no. Like Jason and Freddy will always remain icons, like no matter what. Because people,
and I'm sure they'll make remakes and remakes and remakes and remakes and just
yeah,
cash grab up the ass until people stop buying it and only buy the originals, like Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be a Star Wars thing. Ah, God, it's another Jason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what it's gonna be. But yeah, now we have Art the Clown, and I'm fine with him carrying the torch now. For the slasher icon. For
and
going
Lord
into the
knows what's coming up the pipe. There might be another great slasher coming, next year or 2 years.
Yeah, who knows?
You never know.
Who knows?
We could get something really cool.
That would be nice. But
I'd be all for it.
Yeah, same here. But I think as of now, Art the Clown takes the cake. As far as like current slashers go, or slasher icons go. Yeah, And on that note, I don't know, anything you want to add, Spaz? I think we covered.
Just a small announcement for those of you who are Stephen King fans. Tonight is when on Max, the Salem's Lot, the third one,
That's right.
Well, actually, no, it would be fourth because there was a Return to Salem's Lot as well. So
yeah.
So this is the fourth iteration of the movie, the movie based on the thriller, and I heard it's really short and it's really sweet and it's really good. The only complaint I've heard about it is it's short and they don't give time to build, and that's like, well, if you want time to build, read the book. Read the book.
Sure,
You're not going to get it in a movie. you're never going to get billed in a movie unless you're going to make the movie 3 or 4 hours long.
Right.
But yeah, I've heard nothing but positive. It's creepy, old style vampire. No sparkling, no romance. They're just there
Yeah.
to bite your face off and drink your blood. Yeah.
Right. Cool. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. So I guess tonight we just, we really just wanted to cover the pantheon of slasher icons throughout the decades.
Mm-hmm.
I think we know we didn't get too in depth on each one, like on all the different actors and writers and directors and everything. But
And we didn't get into the subgenres or like
yeah,
Child's Play. Yeah.
yeah. But remember, people, we're gonna be here for a while, and this definitely will not be the first time we talk about Freddy or Jason. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry. We have there's plenty of time for us to talk more about two of our favorite slasher icons.
Mm-hmm.
But this is really tonight was really tonight what it was. This was all a ruse. Spaz, you see, Spaz, this was all part of my plan. This was all a ruse. This is all just meant to be build up for Terrifier 3.
Yeah, you're evil maniacal bastard. What can I
say? Yeah. Yes, but yes, no, but yeah, like I am. It's happening next week. So next week, our schedule may be a little different. We're probably gonna be doing our main show earlier in the week because Thursday is the night I am seeing Terrifier 3, and when I return home from the theater, I will be coming on live to do a full in-depth review of the film. And yeah,
Cool.
So that'll be happening Thursday. But since I'm seeing the movie, I'll be on later than usual. But as soon as I get back, I will be. I'm sure I will be wanting to talk ad nauseum about Terrifier 3. So yeah, look forward to that. I believe next week Spaz and I will be doing Evil Dead.
All right.
Actually, my favorite horror franchise and the namesake for this show. So that's definitely gonna be a fun one for our October Halloween spectacular. So yeah, tune in. We'll
Nope.
Same Evil Shems time, same Evil Shems channel. I guess this was a short one tonight, but yeah. On that note, Spaz, anything you want to add or say?
Just love you guys. See you later.
Yep, love you all. Thank you everyone who tuned in and joined us. And yeah, happy October, everyone. Yeah, happy October. And yeah, I love it. We'll see you all next week. Good night, everybody.
Later.